Hey everyone, it's time for a review of the 5th studio album, 5, by the progressive and psychedelic rock band Unknown Mortal Orchestra. This is their first album in 5 years and is continuous in a string of releases that are just flawless. All 5 of his records are just great. Ruben Nielsen, the singer and lead guitarist of this band, has always been known to suffer for his art. Really break himself down, tear his mind apart, put him in these situations that not a lot of artists are bold enough to go to. Whether it's staying in a secluded home in Vietnam for 3 months, to inviting a third partner into his own marriage, and then crafting a concept album based on that situation. And he always produces something very special and majestic, really, when it comes to the albums. I first got into Unknown Mortal Orchestra while on a school trip in 2018. YouTube recommended to me their single American Guilt. I heard that song and it's just such a ripping and righteous cut. I loved that song and decided to check out the album. It was from Sex and Food, and it was my second favorite album of 2018. Probably favorite, if you ask me now, in a top 10 album of the decade. The band has been through an interesting trajectory up to this point. They started out as remaining members of Ruben and his brother Cody's old band, the Mint Chicks. They released their 2010 self-titled debut, the noisy garage rock inspired album. A very abrasive listen, but there are some great songs on there like Funny Friends and Little Blue House. They signed to Jagjaguwar Records in 2013 and released the follow-up record titled 2 later that year. This album saw them take on a more psychedelic and lo-fi approach to their sound, and I actually quite enjoyed that album. Most notably the song So Good at Being in Trouble. Just love that cut as well as a few others. And that led into even more expansion of their sound in 2015's Multi-Love, which added R&B, jazz, funk, and is just such a fun and enthralling listen, and led up to Sex and Food, which is a masterpiece record in 2018. After that amazing record, they went into a kind of a weird direction. They released an EP of jazz instrumentals called IOC Hanoi later in 2018, and honestly, I think it kind of stinks. I'm not a fan of it at all. I felt it was way too long and meandering, and I just could not get into that album at all, or that EP, sorry, at all. I felt it was way too drawn out, and the band didn't put out any new music until 2021 when we got 2 new songs, Weekend Run and That Life, in August of that year. I love both of those songs. The latter more so with its, I love that sprawling guitar lick, the fun lyrics reflecting on wealth and the true price of fame. This album has interesting themes to it that really shine a light on the process of making this record. Ruben Nielsen was quite open in how he came to this record, as he moved back to his mother's home in Hawaii along with his wife and his newborn child, and really secluded himself there and drew on the themes of loneliness and desperation. And those themes are very evident on a lot of the songs on this record. And that seems what they're all about, kind of escaping from somewhere. Songs like Weekend Run, Layla, The Garden. This is one of the most smartly written albums I've heard all year. I think this album is best when you go into it without any expectations, kind of like I did, but I was a massive fan of this band before this album. But if you're new to Unknown Mortal Orchestra, this is an album where you feel like you have to listen to all the band's prior works and really digest them. You can go in here cold turkey and still have a positive experience. One thing I will say, that while this album may have a lot of interludes, they really don't feel earned or necessary, even though if I do like some of them. Outside of a couple, you can remove a lot of the instrumentals off of this album and it'll still flow seamlessly, but I do like that they're there as they add another dimension to the experience. The sound of this record mixes a lot of UMO's familiar trademarks. I think Ruben's guitar playing and his brother's drumming are just god tier. They're so good, they're so talented, and there's a lot of diversity here. There's some psychedelic songs, some jazz rock, some indie pop here and there, some folk songs, and some prog rock ballads that shake the earth to its core. Look to the 6-minute opener, The Garden, as a perfect example of this. The light piano opening is great, which leads to this disjointed, yet kind of refreshing, raspy guitar riff, tied together with lyrics about not getting lost in the shuffle, make this a top-tier cut. I really enjoy the instrumental cut, The Widow. It's just such a fun song to just bop along to. It has this jazzy beat, guitars and synths are really working to its advantage. It's 5.5 minutes long, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's the perfect length, enough changes in there to make the song interesting. Look to more conceptual cuts like Layla, a gentle psych pop love song about finding a place of acceptance with your partner in an unaccepting world. Or Nadja, which features some of Ruben's sickest licks to date. And please, for the love of God, do not sleep on the prog jazz masterpiece that is Meshuggah. This is probably my favorite cut on the record. This song is so enthralling. In a rush, almost like a hit of a drug, as what's referenced in here, comparing love to a drug, which, yeah, I know isn't new, love in a relationship in this aspect. It also has clever wordplay, tying the Hebrew word for insane with a chorus that reads, "Give me sugar, Meshuggah, me sugar." Okay, get it? Isn't that clever? At least I thought it was clever. But I love just everything about this song, just all the instruments, the guitars, the synths, the bass, the drums, they work together in perfect harmony. In the Rear View is one of the few sentimental moments on the record, as Ruben takes a look at his past relationships and the loves he left behind as that infectiously catchy instrumental rolls along. Another reflective track is The Beach, as almost a longing and a cry for normalcy and the good times of the past in our current abnormal times, using the beach almost. Take me back to this place. He almost pleads the listener. With Ruben's stretched out hook and that squeaky guitar lead, this song is just great. Two of the three last instrumentals, Shimramyun and Kiyakua, are both nice acoustic songs, but not the most essential. However, the song The Drag is just such an interesting track. It's an instrumental cut, just like the previous two I mentioned, but it's kind of a jazzy, jazz rock cut. And I really like that Ruben's kind of humming along with the synths and the guitar riff. It's just something so fun to listen to. It's like he's having fun in the studio recording it. A really solid track. I Killed Captain Cook is the one song that, even though I'm not crazy about it, I can appreciate its simplicity. It's a nice little folk ballad to put near the end of the record. So if you haven't realized, guys, I love this album. I think that this might be UMO's defining statement, even though I've loved basically every record they put out to this point. Rock has needed a proper revival for a long time, and it's albums like this that really give me hope. This is definitely my album of the year so far. I love this record. I highly recommend it to everyone, and I'm going to give 5 by Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Hey, a perfect score, a 5 out of 5. Let me know what you guys think of this record in the comments below.